Values of biodiversity or uses of biodiversity. In economic terms, economically, there are main two types of values of biodiversity. They are use value. Second one is non-use value. Use value again divided into three types. One is direct value. Second one is indirect values. Third one is option values. Use value means the biodiversity products are direct or indirect or optionally used by or utilized by human beings. So these are use values. And second one is non-use values. Non-use value, biggest value, willing to pay for its existence value, knowing its existence. So it is rarely visible in the um, value of biodiversity. See, direct values mean direct values are concerned with the enjoyment or satisfaction received directly by biological resources. The biological resources are directly utilized by the persons for the enjoyment or for their satisfaction. They can be relatively easily observed and measured, often by assigning price to them. There are two types. One is, there are means the direct values are two types. One is consumptive use, second one is productive use. Consumptive use are also called non-market value. Productive value means commercial value. See, consumptive value, it is the main source of biodiversity, main important value of biodiversity. The consumptive value of nature's products, the value of nature's products that are consumed directly, such as firewoods, fodder, and meat. So these are directly taken from the biodiversity. So directly taken and the biodiversity from the biodiversity, such as like firewoods, fodder means food material, meat. In other words, the products which are consumed directly without passing through the market. So this type of products are didn't go to market, and the products are directly consumed by human beings. Consumptive use value seldom means rarely or hardly appeared in national income accounts. So consumptive values generally didn't show any income values in the national levels. Rarely appear the national income accounts by the consumptive use values. Consumptive use values are the most important point of consumptive use is that some rural communities closest to the forests or other natural areas can prosper through the sustainable harvesting of wild species. Consumptive use values are utilized by the mainly rural communities. The rural communities are closest to the forest. So forest products are directly consumed by the or consumed by the rural communities or other natural areas. Other natural areas are also consumptive use values are collected from the biodiversity, harvesting of wild species. They are hunting of animals, hunting of plants, direct consumption example, collection of berries, mushrooms, herbs, plants are all consumptive uses. These all are collected by directly from the biodiversity and they are consumed by the human beings in direct manner without passing to market value. So this type of uses values are called consumptive use values. And productive use, productive that are commercially harvested for the exchange in formal markets. So different types of markets are available: fish market, meat market, vegetable market, cloth market. Like these all types of markets are present for the commercially harvested products. Each species is valuable to human beings. The global collection of genes, species, habitats, and ecosystems is a resource that provides for human needs now. And it is also essential for human survival in the future. Productive values are compulsory, play major role in the direct values to human beings. So these are essential for the human survival in the future days. This is often the only value of biological resources that is reflected in the income accounts. Productive uses are compulsory reflected in the income accounts because the product values, products are reached to the markets by the different formal markets. The formal markets are available in the local areas or cities like villages also. So these are the productive uses. Such productive uses in the markets, products such as animal skins, ivory, teeth of elephant, and different types of medicinal plants, honey, beeswax, fibers, gums, and other materials from the biodiversity, ECT. Then indirect values. Indirect values mean it deals primarily with the functions or ecosystems. Functions or ecosystem means indirect values play major role in the biodiversity values. It deals primarily with the functions or ecosystems. Do not normally appear in the national accounting system, but they may outweigh direct value when they are computed. It is important. It is important role for the value of biodiversity. It is not reflected in the national accounting system. At the same time, it is more than important for the direct values. More important than direct values. Reflects the value of biological diversity to society, locally, or at large rather than to individuals or corporate entities. So these are the indirect values, reflects the value of indirect values on the biological diversity to society locally or at the large rather than to individuals or corporate entities. Direct values often derive from indirect values because harvested species of plants and animals are supported goods and services provided by their environment. Direct values often derived from the indirect values because indirect values nothing but ecosystem like soil, temperature, light, water, air. These all are called indirect values. The indirect values are mainly supported to the direct values because harvested of species of plants and animals supported goods and services provided by their environment. If that indirect values are supported to the direct values, we can easily achieve good yield from the plants, good products of animals, because environmental factors, indirect values factors are supported. So automatically we get good yield of food materials from the plants, harvested plants. And two types of indirect values are here it is. First one is non-consumptive uses. Non-consumptive uses are social values, ethical values, aesthetic values, and optional values. See, non-consumptive values, these are the indirect values of ecosystem functions, such as the watershed protections, photosynthesis, regulation, and climate and protection of soil, pollination, habitat for other species. So these are the values of indirect values of biodiversity. From that indirect values, non-consumptive values. We cannot utilize, we cannot consume this. Watershed protection, photosynthesis, regulation or climate and production of soil, pollination, habitat for other species. Social values. Biodiversity in India, particularly, is important for their religious, spirituals, and other cultural uses. Many plants and animals have ritual significance. The entire ecosystem is utilized for the cultural and spiritual purposes. Some examples: among auspicious flower offered in temples are hibiscus, offered to the goddess Kali. Datura flowers to Shiva. Gujarat Sami means Jami. Prosopis spicifera is used in sacrificial fires, and sacred value was attached to patches of forest believed to be the abode of gods and ancestors, and utilized only for the prayer and related rituals. If the sacred values are attached to the patches in the forest, that forest is fulfilled with gods, or presents with gods, or present with ancestors. A network of such sacred groves is still in the evidence in some parts of India. And ethical values. Although economic arguments can be advanced to justify the protection of biological diversity, there are also strong ethical arguments for doing so. Protecting biological diversity can be justified on ethical grounds as well as on economic grounds. Ethical arguments asserts that humans have a duty to protect the species based on their intrinsic values unrelated to human needs. Intrinsic values and unrelated to human needs. So every living organism important for the human life. So humans are protected to every living organism for their surviving of life. Intrinsic values are unrelated to the human needs. Some examples of ethical values: people do not have the right to destroy species and should take action to prevent their extinction. So compulsory don't have any rights. Peoples don't have any rights to destroy the species of plants and animals. should take action to prevent their extinction. So protecting of the plants or protecting of animals for the extinction. The loss of one species have far-reaching consequences to the biological community and human society. People must learn to live within the ecological constraints of the planet. Constraints of the planet must learn to minimize the environmental damage and take responsibility for their action. People also have responsibility to future generations of humans to keep the earth is in good condition. So compulsory humans are respected to the future generations, respected to the plants, and they are provided good environment for the future generations of the human beings. And the next topic is from the values of biodiversity, aesthetic values. Regardless of our own material self-interest, we should treat nature respectfully. Enlightened self-interest, arguing that preserving biodiversity and developing of our knowledge of it will make us better and happier people. So aesthetic values means it is the beauty of nature. Every person compulsory respect to the beauty of nature and the self-interest to the protecting of biodiversity to make happier people. Nearly everyone enjoys wildlife and joys makes our lives good lives. A loss of biodiversity could very well limit the create energies of people in the future and this restrict the development. Some examples of aesthetic values: the beauty of wildflower in the glacial natural park, glacial glacier national park. And second one is hiking, canoeing, and mountain climbing or physically, intellectually, emotionally satisfying to the human beings. People spend tens of billions of dollars annually in these pursuits. Proof enough of their value. The next topic from the value of biodiversity, endemism. Endemism is the state of species being native to single defined geographical location, such as an island state, nation, country, or other defined zone of organisms. The situation which a species is restricted to particular geographical region as a result of factors such as isolation or in response to abiotic conditions. It is endemism. Endemism means native place of living organism. Native place of living organism is more comfortable of living organism life cycle. These all topics belongs to values or uses of biodiversity.